But again, it's January 23, 2016. We still are doing the seven last kings of Judah. We've gone to Jehoiakim, but we did not finish it. So I'm hoping we'll be able to finish it and move into Jehoiachin. Now, there's so many things that we studied in Jehoiakim, the stories of Jehoiakim, and we know that at that time the prophet is Jeremiah, and so many prophecies Jeremiah gave, and so many warnings he gave to the people at that time. So make sure that they will be ready. Okay, all right. So let me find my cursor here. All right. Okay. All right. I'm trying something a little different here. Hopefully it'll work better because of the background that for the video. So RC's checking it right now. All right. Okay. Jehoiakim is the half brother of Zedekiah and Jehoahaz, right? And Jehoiakim means Jehovah will raise, right? Because this is at the time when we find out the story of Jehoiakim lines up to the time of when the Revelation 10 angel, which is Jesus himself, stands up, right, and gives the little book, right? That's in Revelation 10. And then also in our time, at 9, it also will apply to our time when 9/11, when Revelation 10 angel joins with the second angel's message to become the fourth angel's message. All right. Okay. This is just a review, right? Jehoiakim, his mother was Zebudah, and Zebudah, they have different mothers than Zedekiah and Jehoahaz, right? And yeah, and their fathers is Josiah. Okay. Now Jeremiah had been the prophet at that time, sent by God to give warning messages, and his warning messages has been even from the time of Josiah, right? Even from the days of Josiah, even unto this day of the time of Jehoiakim, right? Even the fourth year of Jehoiakim. And he wrote it, he had Baruch, the scribe, write it down in a roll of book. And they brought it and had it read in front of the people. And then one of the princes, I believe, brought it and had it read in front of the king, right, with the Jehoiakim. And what did Jehoiakim do to that? He used his penknife. It said penknife, and he tore it, and then he cut it up and had it burned, because at that time it was in the winter time, and they had a fire, and he cut it up and had it burned. He burnt the warnings that was given to his father, and also to him, the warnings that had been given for about 23 years. He refused to accept the 7 times message, the 7 times curse, right? Because you and your people will have to suffer because of the sins of your fathers. You have to leave this land because this land has not been resting on the Sabbath, right? And because of that, you have to leave this land. You have to let the land rest. You're going to have to be taken to Babylon. Okay, all right. What happened? What were some of the warnings that were given? Right. So you have to go back to the old past, the teachings of Moses, Hosea, Habakkuk, Zephaniah. You have to go back to those old paths and walk therein in those old paths, right? Trust not in the lying words of the temple of the Lord. The temple of the Lord. The temple of the Lord is going to save you. No, it's the presence of Jesus is going to save you. Trust not in those who say the temple of the Lord is going to save you. Those are lying words. What else? They were not hallowing the Sabbath. He says, hallow the Sabbath day. Right? Keep the covenant of your fathers, the one that fathers made with God. Return back from idolatry. Do not drink wine, the wine of Babylon. And who did he pick to choose to make an object lesson? Jonadab and the Rechabites, right? Yeah. But what happened? Jerusalem was in a perpetual backsliding, and the people did not know the judgment of the Lord. Right? It's in a perpetual backsliding. And this is the one that we studied also last night, Jeremiah 19:3. And say, hear ye the word of the Lord, O kings of Judah and inhabitants of Jerusalem. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, behold, I will bring evil upon this place, the which whosoever heareth, his ears shall tingle. This is the same warning that was given at the time of Samuel, right? Samuel, the same message was, you're going to have to give to Eli and his sons that message will cause their ears to tingle, right? And it's always the message that will cause their ears to tingle will always be a message about their judgment. Their judgment is going to come. Specifically at the time of Zedekiah for the last 7 kings. And that will be for us a lesson because Zedekiah lines up with the Sunday law. All right. Okay. All right. So what happened to the book after the book was burnt? Yeah. It was recopied, right? And these messages have been repeated for us. But instead, what happens? The time should have, instead of devoting our time to repentance and reform, we go into criticism and follow man's formed opinions and ideas. We need to learn from the study of King Jehoiakim's example. We need to study what happened to him, right? In other words, we need to study his line because it will apply to our line, right? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. What happened when they rejected the spirit of prophecy? Because Jeremiah wrote it in a book, gave it to them, and they burned it. They rejected the spirit of prophecy. That happens in their time. It is going to happen in our time. One thing is certain. Selected Messages, Book 3, page 84. Those Seventh-day Adventists who take their stand under Satan's banner will first give up their faith in the warnings and reproofs contained in the testimonies of God's Spirit, which is the spirit of prophecy. Once you start doubting and then progress to rejecting the spirit of prophecy, what will happen? You will eventually stand under the banner of Satan. Meaning, when you stand under the banner of Satan, what will you receive? the mark of the beast. That specifically means the mark of the beast. First, you have those people will reject. Specifically, who these people are? No. We try to be a little bit more politically correct and say spiritual Israel. But Ellen White says Seventh-day Adventists.
Well, that first part of the sentence is one thing is certain.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, terrible, terrible. This is why it is going to make their ears tingle. All right, so what happened to the roll? The roll was rewritten. Then the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah. After that, the king had burned the roll and the words which Baruch wrote at the mouth of Jeremiah, saying, take thee again another roll. Right? So it was rewritten and it was read for the people. Okay, we skip down to verse 30. Therefore, thus saith the Lord of Jehoiakim. Therefore, thus saith the Lord of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, he shall have none to sit upon the throne of David. There's not going to be anybody. There's no other king. There are kings. There is going to come to a time when there's no more of your descendants that's not going to be kings anymore. That's sitting on the throne of David, right? Yeah. Not starting Jehoiakim. This is a prophecy. It's going to be because we know there's still, after Jehoiakim, who's his son that became? Jehoiachin. And then his brother became king. Right. And it was Zedekiah. Right. Right. But it is a prophecy. He shall have none to sit upon the throne of David, and his dead body shall be cast out in the day to the heat, and in the night to the frost. And will punish him and his seed and his servants for their iniquity. And I will bring upon them and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem and upon the men of Judah all the evil that I have pronounced against them, but they hearkened not. Terrible. They did not want to hear even after this. All right. The New York Indicator. Some have heard the reading of the evidence of the binding claims of the law of God and the enjoined obedience to his commandments, and have felt their characters to be in such contrast to the requirements that they have been placed in the circumstances similar to Jehoiakim, king of Judah. They would have done as he did. A special message has been sent to him to be read in his hearing, but after listening to 3 or 4 pages, he cut it out with a penknife and cast it into the fire. But this could not destroy the message, for the word of God will never return to him void. Those who are willing to have the straight, plain messages of God consumed to get them out of their sight will only give increased publicity and to confirmation of the messages that they dismissed and repulsed. When the Lord sends a message to any man or woman and they refuse to be corrected, refuse to receive it, and it is not the end of the message by any means. All the transaction is recorded, and those who took part in it, by their refusal to be corrected, pronounce their own sentence against themselves. Don't think that by refusal to receive the message, the message is given to you, and it is by the way you respond to the message. It's how you are going to determine your eternal destiny. That's Christ's object lessons, right? Yeah. How you respond, right? Yeah. How you treat the message. How you respond to the message, right? Okay. So what happened to him? Against him came up Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and bound him in fetters to carry him to Babylon. Okay, this is the part that in the past, when I read this, I said, oh, you know what? Jehoiakim went to Babylon. When you first read this carefully. You think that he actually went to Babylon, but he was bound in fetters to carry him to Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar also carried the vessels of the house of the Lord and put them in his temple at Babylon. All right. Now, when you see that the vessels of the Lord was put in a heathen temple, it is symbolically also means that the vessels are lightening the earth with His glory, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's lightening the earth with His glory. And what happened to him? Therefore, thus saith the Lord concerning Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, they shall not lament for him, saying, Ah, my brother, or Ah, sister. They shall not lament for him, saying, Ah, Lord, or Ah, his glory. He shall be buried with the burial of an ass, drawn and cast forth beyond the gates of Jerusalem. All right? Lightened with his glory, burial of an ass, something to do with an ass. Do you see that this lines up with a certain part of the prophecy for our time? Right? 9/11. Yeah. All these things are written for a reason, so that people who understand them and can find the underlying concept underneath it can connect this story with the story in our time, right? And with our line. All right. So Jehoiakim slept with his fathers, and Jehoiachin his son reigned in his stead. Yeah, he slept with his fathers. What does it mean he slept with his fathers? He died and was buried where? In Jerusalem. He was not buried. He did not die in Babylon. So when you read this part here, 2 Chronicles, hey, wait a minute. They wanted to carry him to Babylon, but he did not get carried to Babylon. He actually died with his fathers. All right. And the king of Egypt came not again any more out of his land, for the king of Babylon had taken from the river of Egypt unto the river of Euphrates all that pertained to the king of Egypt. So what does this mean?
Babylon conquered Egypt.
That's right. Meaning Egypt is given to Babylon. So Egypt is given to Babylon even since the time of Jehoiakim. All right? Okay. Egypt is given in the time of Jehoiakim. So we know we can now put this into lines, because all these lines also pertain to our line. Okay. The first 25:20 applies to Manasseh. And we will see now that the second 25:20 applies to Jehoiakim. He rejects the testimonies. His children, this is the time when the children were robbed, right? That's the part of the 25:20. Your children will be robbed. Right? How is his children robbed at this time? Because at the time of Jehoiakim, who are the children that were robbed and taken to Babylon? Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, right? That's part of the 25:20. Their children will be robbed. The vessels are carried away to be lightened with the glory. Then the angel come down here and lighten the earth with his glory? Right there. The vessels are carried away. The Rechabites refused the wine. Right? Who else refused the wine? Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego refused the wine. Jehoiakim also burned the roll, right? And he was buried as an ass. Isn't an ass also here? There you go. There's an ass being restrained. So you don't put this literal. Remember, prophecy is a figurative delineation. It's a figurative delineation, meaning you look at the concept. You look at what it symbolizes. It's not literal. You do not see that Jehoiakim is like an ass, so Jehoiakim is Islam. No. You look that there is a concept of an ass in this time here. There's also one right here. Okay? All right. So that's how So we can see that this generation, Manasseh, the generation of Manasseh was the fulfillment of the first 25:20. This generation of Jehoiakim is also the second 25:20. All right? So then it goes to Jehoiachin has to be the third 25:20. Okay. All right. Now we will continue. So far, this looks pretty good on the video. All right. Okay. Now we will move on from Jehoiakim to Jehoiachin. Now Jehoiachin is a fulfillment of what actually was prophesied to be his punishment at the time on the third 25:20. The third 7 times. Now that's in Leviticus 26. 7 times number 3. Leviticus 26 verse 23 to 26. And if ye will not be reformed by me by these things, but will walk contrary to me, then will I also walk contrary unto you, and will punish you yet 7 times for your sins, and will bring a sword upon you that shall avenge the quarrel of my covenant. Okay, so there's going to be a quarrel of the covenant. And when ye are gathered together within your cities, I will send a pestilence among you, and ye shall be delivered into the hand of the enemy. And when I have broken the staff of your bread, 10 women shall bake your bread in one oven, and they shall deliver you your bread again by weight, and ye shall eat and not be satisfied. Okay, this 7 times is fulfilled at the time of Jehoiachin. All right, and we will see that happen, because you're going to see the quarrel of the covenant and the times of the broken staff of the bread. What does that mean? Okay, Jehoiachin. Jehoiachin is the son of Jehoiakim. All right. Okay, Jehoiachin means Jehovah will establish, and it also means tarry. Right. So we're going to be starting into the tarrying time, and Jehovah will establish. All right. Okay. This is the time when Nebuchadnezzar put a siege on Jerusalem. The first siege was at the time of Jehoiakim, his dad. The first siege, right? The second siege was at the time of Jehoiachin. Okay, all right. 2 Chronicles 36 verse 9. Jehoiachin was 8 years old. 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 3 months and 10 days. Only 3 months and 10 days. And he did that was evil in the sight of the Lord. Oh, he was only 8 years old? And when the earth was expired, and when the year was expired, King Nebuchadnezzar sent and brought him to Babylon with the goodly vessels of the house of the Lord, and made Zedekiah his brother king over Judah and Jerusalem. Hey, wait a minute. Zedekiah was not his brother. Zedekiah is actually his uncle. Right. Okay. Wait a minute. You know, these things are getting a little confusing. First of all, could he have done evil in the sight of the Lord when he was 8 years old? Well, he could. But it does. Yeah. Okay. We'll see that. Okay. We'll see this. All right. Who was taken? If Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were from Judah. They were taken at the time of Jehoiakim. Who was taken at the second siege? Esther 2 verse 5 and 6. Now in Shushan, the palace, there was a certain Jew whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, son of Shimei, son of Kish, a Benjaminite, right? A Benjaminite, who had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity, who had been carried away with Jeconiah. This is Jehoiachin, whom Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had carried away. So at this time, Esther was taken away. So what does this mean? The story of Esther somehow relates to this story and will also relate to our history. So this is from here, at some point we're going to have to study the story of Esther, because it's going to apply, right, to the 7 thunders. the story of seven thunders, right? Which is in our time has been repeated of the story of the time of the Millerites, which repeated the story of these seven kings, right? Okay. All right. Now look at this, 2 Kings 24, verse 8 to 16. Jehoiachin was 18 years old when he began to reign. Wait a minute. Wasn't it 8 or 18?
18.
So is there a contradiction in the Bible?
Looks like it.
It looks like there is a contradiction. But the problem is not in the Bible itself, but actually in the translations. Because in the Syria Bible and then there's other really old Bibles, Chronicles wrote that it was 18. So somehow somebody in the King James Version wrote 8 instead of 18. Right? Because it actually makes sense. How could he be 8 years old and he did evil unto the Lord, And his mother was Neshusta, the daughter of Elnathan. And he did that was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his father had done. At that time, the servants of Nebuchadnezzar came up against Jerusalem, and the city was besieged. And his servants did besiege it. All right? Okay. And Jehoiachin, the king of Judah, went out to the king of Babylon, and he and his mother and his servants and his princes and his officers and the king of Babylon took him in the 8th year of his reign. Of 8th year? I thought he only reigned 3 months and 10 days. This is the 8th year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign. Yeah. And he carried out all the treasures of the vessels of gold, which Solomon, king of Israel, had made in the temple of the Lord. All right? And he carried away all the princes, all the mighty men of valor, craftsmen, smiths, and he carried away Jehoiachin, his mother, his wives, and officers. Only the poor were left. And all the men of merit, even 1,000, and craftsmen and smiths, and 1,000, even them, all the king of... So it was getting worse and worse. It is getting even worse. Because remember, the more you know, the more responsibility you know, the more your punishment is going to be. The more severe your punishment is going to be. During the second siege, right? He was delivered into the hand of the enemy, right? So that's what 7 times said. Okay. All right, so we'll see. What is the quarrel of the covenant that was said happened at the time of Jehoiachin? What is the quarrel of the covenant? The Revelator says, I saw another angel. Okay, Revelation 18, 1 to 2. Revelation 18, 1 to 2. And I heard mightily with a strong voice, Babylon the great is fallen, is fallen. This is the same message is given by the second angel, because she had made all the nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And what is that wine? Her false doctrines. The false doctrine is the false covenant. So there is going to be given a covenant that is false during the time of Jehoiachin. There's going to be the true covenant given. The true covenant is made with his remnant. Right? Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego that went there, a covenant was made with them. You are going to be a remnant, and from this, you are going to be a great nation who is going to be gathered again. But there's going to be a false covenant made, and a false doctrine or a lie. Okay? Okay. And it came to pass, this is Jeremiah 28, and it came to pass the same year, in the beginning of the reign of Zedekiah. Now, beginning of reign of Zedekiah is, Jehoiachin is already taken away. He only reigned for 3 months. So he's taken away, but he's still alive in Babylon. He's still alive in Babylon, right? In the 4th year, in the 5th month, that Hananiah, the son of Azur the prophet, which was of Gibeon, spake unto me in the house of the Lord, in the presence of the priests and the people, saying, Thus speaketh the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, saying, I have broken the yoke of the king of Babylon, within 2 full years will I bring again into this place all the vessels of the house of the Lord that the Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had taken away, right? And I will bring again to this place Jeconiah. You know, he was saying, when Jehoiachin was taken into captivity, within 2 years, he's going to come back. So what is he doing? He does not believe in the 70 years that was already prophesied. Jeremiah believed in Hosea, it's 70 years. You already prophesied they're going to go there for 70 years. He does not believe in the duration, right? It was a lie. He said, it is actually from God. And all the captives are going to come back. And the yoke of the king of Babylon is going to be broken, right? Right? Now, this is obviously a lie. Okay. So this is what happened at that time. Jeremiah says, okay, the prophet that had prophesied of peace, right? You have to decide of which one is the true prophet, because whoever, if he prophesied the truth, he will continue to live. But if he prophesied of lie, he will die, right? And what happened to him? He died. Go and tell Hananiah, saying, Thus saith the Lord, Thou hast broken the yokes of wood, but thou shalt make for them yokes of iron. You break the yoke of wood. The yoke of wood is the easy yoke, the lighter wood. It's better that you just go carry that yoke to Babylon. It's an easy yoke.
The yoke of obedience.
You just obey it. Because it's okay, go there. You're just going to go there for 70 years. After that, you're going to come back. All right? That's the yoke of wood. But now that you have rebelled, you're going to have to carry the yoke of iron. The yoke of iron, the yoke of servitude. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, I have put the yoke of iron upon the neck of all these nations, that they may serve, is the yoke of servitude, the king of Babylon. And I have given him the beasts of the field also. The beasts of the field is also the Gentiles, right? The Gentiles are going to be given to him. But remember what happened to Nebuchadnezzar? His what? His fame and his riches went to his head. And how did he have to suffer? He had to walk among the beasts, right? The beasts were given to him, and when he became proudful, he had to walk among the beasts, right? Then said prophet Jeremiah unto Hananiah, Hear now, Hananiah, the Lord hath not sent thee, but thou makest this people to trust in a lie. Therefore thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will cast thee from all the face of the earth. This year shalt thou die, because thou hast taught rebellion. So this is the false message. It's a lie. It is what is a message? The message is also the latter rain, right? It's a false latter rain. What is when we've been studying the false latter rain that is been given, it is also typified by the weeping of Tammuz. The weeping of Tammuz is the false latter rain. In 2 Thessalonians 2 verse 11, it is also called the strong delusion. Right? So the strong delusion, you are going to, if you believe a lie, you're going to believe a lie, right? It's a strong delusion. Right? The false latter rain is also the weeping of Tammuz. And the children of Israel had to run the risk of trying to decide who are they going to believe as the true prophet. He said, if you're the true prophet, you're not going to die. But if you're the false prophet, you are going to die within this year. And he died in 2 months' time. Right, Hananiah. So at the time of Jehoiachin, remember, there's going to be a latter rain. There's going to be a battle of the quarrel of the covenants, because there's going to be false covenants. There's going to be lies given at that time. And you're going to have to choose. All right. What about the staff of your bread? What is broken staff of your bread? Right away, we now realize on a superficial level, this has to mean there's going to be a famine of bread, right? Okay, Ezekiel 5 verse 16. I will send upon them the evil arrows of famine, and the famine will break your staff of bread. So there's going to be a famine, right? Why is it a famine? Because they receive the false message, right? So they do not receive the latter rain, and they are going to be in a famine, right? So on a spiritual level, is because they do not get the latter rain. There's a famine of bread. That bread is actually the Word of God, which is the Holy Spirit. So famine, I will break the staff of bread and will send famine upon it and will cut off man and beast from it. All right? Okay. There's a famine. All right. Now what happens to Jehoiachin? A curse is made upon him. Jeremiah 22 verse 24 to 29. As I live, said the Lord, though Konia, so Jehoiachin is also called Jeconiah, is also called Konia, the son of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, were the signet upon my right hand, yet would I pluck thee hence. Okay, I am going to take off the signet from your right hand, and I will pluck it. What does that mean? And I will give thee unto the hand of them that seek thy life, and into the hand of them whose face thou fearest, even the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. I will cast thee out, and thy mother, and there ye shall die in Babylon, right? So, jumping to verse 30, thus saith the Lord, write ye this man childless, a man that shall not prosper in his days, for no man of his seed shall prosper, sitting upon the throne of David, and ruling any more in Judah. None of his sons will be kings to sit on the throne of Judah, right? The signet will be removed from him. He is the last king of Judah that carries the chromosome of Jesus, right? Because who's the king after him? Zedekiah. Who's Zedekiah? His uncle, right? His uncle. And none of the children of Zedekiah, posterity became Jesus' ancestors. It was actually Jehoiachin's chromosome that was carried onto Zerubbabel. And remember, who was Zerubbabel? He received the signet and he became ruler in Judah, right? So that the scepter, the ruler, remains in Judah, although there's no more kings after Jehoiachin. Yeah, because he's the last one that had the chromosome. Zedekiah was still king. But remember, Jehoiachin was the last one to carry the chromosome of Jesus as a king. All right? Okay. All right. That was pretty quick. Because he only reigned 3 months and 10 days. Yeah. Okay. Let me see. Yeah, he was 18. That's right. He was 18. Okay, let me move on this side. All right. He was 8.
I wonder why only 3 months.
Oh boy, it's very short. Yeah, I don't think it's prophetically significant for us. We can't count that our time is going to be very short compared to. Okay, let's see. So this is Jehoiachin, all right? The tarrying time, right? God will establish. He will avenge the false covenant, right? But they will believe a false message, which is a weeping of Tammuz, also a delusion, a strong delusion. and there will be a famine, right? And there's going to be a famine at that time, and the signet is removed. Right? It was given to somebody else. And they have to suffer. Jehoiachin suffers the third 2520, this generation, right? So the 2520 is actually for the 4 generations: Manasseh, Jehoiakim, Jehoiachin, and also Zedekiah, because these are all the kings that actually also had to go to Babylon. Although he was captured by the Assyrians, they all had to go to Babylon, them and their children. Although Jehoiakim, he was captured, and Judah had to go to Babylon, but he died in Jerusalem. Jehoiachin had to go to Babylon, right? They all had to suffer the 2520 that was delivered to them through Babylon. All right, so this is Jehoiachin. So I was saying, wow, there's got to be more to the stories of Jehoiachin. Okay. All right. Ezekiel 1, verse 1 to 3. Now it came to pass in the 30th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of the month. We read this last night. Remember? As I was among the captives of the river of Chebar, that the heavens were open, and I saw visions. What kind of vision is this? The Mara vision. In the 5th day of the month, which was the 5th year of the king Jehoiachin. Oh, okay, there you go. So something else did happen during the time of Jehoiachin. Ezekiel, his captivity, during his time of captivity. Right? Ezekiel also became what? Was called to be a prophet. Ezekiel was called to be a prophet. And when Ezekiel was called to be a prophet, he received a what kind of vision? A Mara vision, right? He was called, so Ezekiel was called to be a prophet, and he received a Mara vision. All right. Yeah, let me take a drink there. Okay. He received a Mara vision. Now, because we are now, broadcasting this, and we did not broadcast what is the difference between Mara and Chazon and Mare, right? A Chazon vision is in Daniel 8, verse 2 to 12. It is a prophetic vision. Remember the story of the ram and the he-goat and all that, right? That is the Chazon vision. Chazon vision is the prophetic vision. The Mare vision is in Daniel 8, verse 13 to 14. We call it, sometimes we call it a snapshot vision, right? And the other one is like a movie vision, the snapshot vision. But a better way to describe it is the appearance vision, because the Mara vision is the feminine form of the Mare vision, is the mirror vision, right? It's the reflection. So the appearance vision is when the one saint spoke to another saint, right? Jesus appeared, right? That's the Mare vision. That's the Mare vision. And the explanation for that is given in Daniel 9, verse 23 to 27. The explanation of the 2300 days, Arab and Boggers, right? And 7 weeks is determined unto Israel, right? Yeah, that is the explanation of the Mare vision that he did not understand. Now the Mara vision is called the mirror vision, right? The mirror vision. Let's see. The Mara is a mirror or a looking glass, right? Because the looking glass the looking glass is the mirror that is used by the women. It's made out of brass, and this was what was used to make the ornaments of the laver of brass in the temple, right? So the Mara is a vision of a reflection. when you now can reflect the character of God after God has appeared to you, right? So now that you can be called as a prophet. All right. Okay. Who else had the Mara vision? We did this last night. Samuel had the Mara vision. He was called how many times? He was called 4 times. All right. The three times he called, he did not understand that it was. He did not understand God's direct call to a 12-year-old boy. He didn't understand that yet, And then Eli said, you have to answer because God is going to give you, he's going to talk to you, right? So he received a Mara vision, and because at that time there was no Chaozon vision, right? There was no prophetic vision. Samuel 3 verse 1-3. And the child Samuel ministered unto the Lord before Eli, and the word of the Lord was precious. It was scarce. It was scarce in those days. There was no open vision. There's no Chaozon vision. There's no prophetic vision at that time. No prophecies were being given at that time. Because why? Eli's eyes began to wax dim that he could not see. Eli was a Laodicea. And the lamp of God went out in the temple, because the lamp represents the Holy Spirit, which is the presence of God, was not in the temple. So the condition of a Laodicea is represented by God knocking outside the door, but the door is not opened, and he is not inside, and his presence is not in the temple, so he is still outside. And how old was he? He was 12 years old, right? Okay, that becomes prophetic. 6 is significant. We have to put that into the line, all right? Because it's also, he is numbered. He's called to become a prophet, and God is calling. He was numbered, like at the time of the disciples. There was 11 disciples. He had to get a 12th disciple. There's a number that is made up, right? Okay. Now, what is the 5th day of the 4th month? Remember, we said that Ezekiel received his Mara vision on the 5th day of the 4th month. Great controversy. In the summer of 1844, midway between the time when it had been first thought that the 2300 days would end and the autumn of the same year, to which it was afterward found that they extended, the message was proclaimed in the very words of Scripture, "Behold, the bridegroom cometh." So exactly in between these 2 dates, when they thought the 2300 days would end, and the summer and the autumn of the same year. What happened in autumn? That's October 22. All right? Right in the middle of that is when the proclamation was given, "Behold, the bridegroom cometh." That is when? Midnight. That is midnight, right? Okay, this is from a previous study. It's very busy, but don't let all these numbers bother you first, okay? All right, this is the equinoxes: the spring equinox, summer solstice, autumn equinox, winter. All right, this is all obviously pagan. All right, they have to look at the sun and the moon and all the alignments and all that to determine when the spring is, right? All right, this is derived from Babylon. Okay, and this is the Gregorian calendar. The Gregorian calendar of 1844. January, February, March, April, May, all to December. This is 1844 right here, okay? And then this is 1845 right here, okay? Now, this is the Kariite reckoning for the Jewish calendar. The Kariite reckoning. So this is the month of Nisan, the first month. All right. So let's go through this. When did they think that the 2300 days ended? First, they thought it was going to end. Right. They thought that the year began on the spring equinox, right? Because the Jews actually believed it at that time, although that was not their original understanding of when the first day of the first month is. They changed that when they were taken into Eastern Europe during the diaspora, right? So they had to look to the sun and the moon and the stars to figure out the first day of their first month. And when was that? They used the equinox. So they said, okay, Jesus would come on March 21, but he didn't come, obviously. And they were disappointed, right? They thought that 2300 days would end here initially. Then they found out, according to Ezra 7:9, it's going to be first day of the first month. And they calculated that to be April 19. That's the first day of the first month, according to the Kariite. This is the Kariite reckoning, according to the Kariite calendar, because that is when the barley harvest matures, right? What happened? Obviously, Jesus didn't come. And that was their first disappointment as compared to Miller's disappointment. Their first disappointment started on April 19, the first day of the first month, and they started to have to tarry, right? The tarrying time started here. So this is the end of the 2300, the end of 2300 days. They thought that this was the end. They thought that Jesus wasn't gonna come here initially. But then they had to tarry. So they are in the tarrying time now. July 21 is when Samuel Snow started preaching at Boston Tabernacle. The message of the bridegroom is coming, right? Okay, and that corresponds to the 5th day of the 4th month. August 15 is the 5th day. The first day of the 5th month, and that is the midnight cry given at Camp Exeter, a camp meeting. It was first given on August 14th, and then it was repeated. The message was doubled right here on August 15th, right? And then they figured out at this time that Jesus would actually go on the clouds and then cleanse the sanctuary on the Day of Atonement, anti-typical Day of Atonement, which is the 10th day of the 7th month. All right? And when they looked at that, they figured that it was going to be October 22. So they calculated this. Between here and here is how many months? 6 months. 6 months between here and here. 6 months is half a day. This is the night time. Because between the tarrying time and the morning is 6 hours. Which is, 12 hours. 12 hours, right? Which is 6 months. Now, the middle of this, according to Ellen White, was when the midnight comes. The middle of it is 3 months. So 3 months goes right into here, and that's the 5th day of the 4th month. And that was when Samuel Snow started giving his. Now, all of this will make sense when we study also Esther, and when the time of the third angel's message is being given. The third angel's message is first preached here, and the third angel's message is the message that binds the wheat and the tares, right? So the binding of the wheat and the tares starts right here. Right? Okay? Right here. So all these things, you're saying, wow, this is so complicated. Actually, it does look complicated, but eventually it will make sense when you put it all together. All right. Okay. So Ellen White does corroborate that right in the middle between here, when they thought that Jesus was going to come, and when they figured out that Jesus went into the most holy place, right in the middle of that time period is midnight. Okay? And this midnight corresponds to the time when Ezekiel receives his Mara vision. And he is called as a prophet. So if at that time, during the time of Jehoiachin, that is what happened to Ezekiel, there's going to be modern Ezekiels also. All right. Okay. Wow. That's a mouthful. Yeah. Jehoiachin is very significant to the story. There's some, you think it's very short, but there's some stories also at the time of Jehoiachin, because Ezekiel was called during the time of his captivity, in the 5th day of the 4th month. All right. So when you see the story of another Mara vision given to Jacob, Jacob was called what? Twice. Jacob, Jacob, just like Samuel, Samuel. Samuel, Samuel was given a vision, a Mara vision. So the story is the same thing, because this is the time of that there's going to be a famine. Now, I've never actually given this. We've studied this, but I figured we should go over this story of the time that Jacob received his Mara vision. All right? Jacob received his Mara vision in Beersheba. After his sons came back from Egypt and says, okay, Father Jacob, your son Joseph is alive in Egypt. So he is now sending you with look at all these supplies that he sent us. You have to believe he is really not dead. We actually faked his death. And we lied to you, and they confessed their sins, and then says, Joseph is still alive, and he wants us there in Egypt. So let's go down to Egypt. So then Jacob went to Beersheba, and he had a vision. He had a Mara vision. And in that vision, God says, I will make you a great nation, even in Egypt. Right? That's because your sons will be gathered now. The two sticks will now be joined, right? Because there was a stick down in Egypt, and there was a stick in Canaan. And those sticks will be joined together now. All right. And what happened after Jacob went down to Joseph? Joseph said to him, For these 2 years hath the famine been in the land, and yet there are 5 years in which there shall be neither be earing nor harvest. Okay, there's going to be 2 years still. 2 years have gone since the famine started, and there's 5 more years. So when they went to Egypt, there's still 5 more years. All right? Okay. What is the famine during the time of Joseph? All right, we have to connect this with Revelation 13, verse 15 to 17. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, to receive a mark on their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. So during the time of the image of the beast is being set up, right? There's going to be a time where no man might buy or sell. All right. the time where, is this the same time as in Joseph? Remember the time of Joseph here, Genesis 47, 13 to 26. And there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very sore, so that the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of famine. And Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan for the corn which was they bought. And Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. And when money failed in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came to Joseph and said, "Give us bread, for why should we die in thy presence? For the money fails." Okay, is this connected then? This is connected. Money fails during the time of the famine in Egypt. Okay? And there's going to be a time when you cannot buy or sell. All right. Yeah. At the time when they receive the mark of the beast. Okay. So this is why people say, okay, money is going to fail. So does that mean that money is going to, when is money going to fail? At the Sunday law? Or before the Sunday law? Or after the Sunday? When you think about these stories, this is why people say, you know what? Money is going to fail when the mark of the beast is given. Right? When Revelation 13 says. Yeah, when you go back to Revelation 13, this is what it seems that it is going to happen. Right? No man can buy or sell when you receive the mark on the right hand, that no man can buy or sell. So the issue is that when no man can buy or sell, is that the same thing as money will fail? Actually, it doesn't. It doesn't mean that way. Yeah. Right. Okay. Why does it? Okay, we have to look at the story of Joseph here. All right. So first, what they had to do is they had to buy all the corn. And Joseph had all the corn. And Joseph said, okay, you want corn? Buy with your corn. And what happens? Then it had they run out of money, right? The money fails. No more money. No more money. Joseph had all the money. So what happens now? There's no more money. And Joseph said, give your cattle. And I will give you for your cattle if money fails. And they brought their cattle into Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in exchange for horses, flocks, cattle of herds, and asses. So now your cattle, you can trade your cattle for corn. All right, because money has failed. There's no more money. All right? And he fed them with bread for all their cattle for that year. So now for a whole year, they can eat the bread because they traded in all their cattle. And when that year has ended, so 1 year has passed, and they have no more corn, they came back to Joseph, and on the second year he said to them, we will not hide it. Oh, what are we going to do? All we have left is our bodies and our lands. So what shall we do? Buy us and our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants unto Pharaoh, and they give us seed, that we may live and not die, and the land be not desolate. And Joseph bought all the land of Egypt, and they became slaves, right? All the Egyptians became slaves. They sold man his field, and the famine prevailed. So the land became Pharaoh's. And as for the people, what happened to them? He removed them to the cities. Wow, this is amazing. They had no more money. First, the money failed. There's no more money. And then they had to sell their cattle. And then they had to sell their land and themselves. They become slaves. And they were living in the cities after that. They were forced to live in the cities. They were removed to live to the cities. Only the land of the priests bought he not, because the priests did not sell their lands, right? And he said, I have bought you this land and your land for Pharaoh. Lo, here is seed for you, and ye shall sow the land. So he said, you're going to have to work. right? You're going to have to work for Pharaoh. You bought yourself, you sold yourself to the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh is going to give you some seed, and you now have to sow that seed. All right? And it shall come to pass, the increase we shall give the fifth part unto Pharaoh. A fifth part of what you sow on the land that used to be yours, but now you have sold it, has to go to Pharaoh. And the fourth part shall be yours own. All right? And they said, Thou hast saved our lives. Let us find grace in the sight of the Lord, that we will be Pharaoh's servants. We will be Pharaoh's servants. Okay? So now you know the sequence, right? Money fails first, and then you're going to sell everything, and eventually you sell yourself, and then you have to work for Pharaoh, and you have to live in the cities. All right. So what happened? And then afterwards, Joseph made it a law over the land of Egypt unto this day, that Pharaoh should have the fifth part, except the land of the priest only, which is not Pharaoh. And Israel dwelt in the land in the country of Goshen, and they had possessions therein. See, they had their own land. They don't have to move to the city, right? So we have to be in spiritual Goshen, a land that we do not have to sell back to Pharaoh, right? And they grew and multiplied. Oh, just like Samuel. Samuel waxed greater, right? Right? So did Israel wax. He grew and multiplied. So when is this law? This law is after or before money fails? It's obviously. It's after money fails. And is this law, what kind of law? Okay, remember, there's going to have to be a decree in the future. It's going to be, is this the Sunday law? Or is this the death decree? Or is this the universal Sunday law? Remember, this did not happen in the whole world at that time. This happened in Egypt, right? This is the land of Egypt. So this law is the Sunday law. It's a Sunday law because there's the law of Egypt. Joseph made a law of Egypt, right? It's the Sunday law, the national Sunday law, right? So you know from this story that money will fail before the Sunday law. So these are the things that we learn when we compare the lines, one line with another line. You see how things will match up. The Sunday law will match up. And there are certain details that you will actually find, that you will learn when you study line upon line, right? That money will fail. And that you have to be living in spiritual Goshen, so that you don't have to sell yourself and have to live in the cities, right? Wow. Okay. And remember, what was it that caused the famine? It was blasted by an east wind. Just to make sure you remember. It was a blast of the east wind that caused the famine.
Great graphic.
You like that?
Just one.
Right, one corn. It was blasted by the east wind. I had to make, this is actually not one picture. This is actually two pictures that I had to.
Very creative.
All right. It was the east wind. Okay. Oh, where are we? Okay, we'll keep on. We'll try to finish up Jehoiachin, all right? It's not very long now. Remember, it was the image of the beast. When you received the image, it was the time of the image of the beast was being set up. That money, you cannot buy or sell. And you cannot buy or sell at the time that the mark of the beast is given, right? So the image of the beast is set up. Remember, the image of the beast, this is the typical image of the beast at the time of Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar made an image of gold, right? And he commanded the peoples, nations, and languages, right? All of the people to worship that image. All right. Otherwise, you will be burned in the fiery furnace. Okay, we know all that. We know all that story. The image of the beast is. Oh, okay. The image of the beast is this one image. But when they were asked, why did you not bow down to the gods? Because the Babylonians believe in the plurality of their gods in one, which is Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz, right? Yeah. So this image of the beast also represents the plurality of three gods in one. All right. In order for the United States to form an image of the beast, the religious power must so control the civil government that the authority of the state will also be employed by the church. So the church rules the state. That is the image of the beast, right? It is the mystery of iniquity. It is the perverted marriage relationship, right? It is the perverted covenant. Yeah. It's the image of the beast. Remember that the image of the beast is where the whore is riding on the beast. It's not side by side. Who is in control? All right. The church is in control. The Lord has shown me clearly that the image of the beast will be formed before probation close. The image of the beast will be formed before before probation closes. And probation closes for Seventh-day Adventism at the Sunday law. So the image of the beast is made during the period between the midnight cry and the Sunday law. The image of the beast. That's when the image of the beast is given life to. It's already being right now. It's already being set up, but the life is given unto the image of the beast. At that time, you can really see it, right? That's when the life is given. The Lord has shown me, all right, that the image of the beast will be formed before probation closes, for it is be the great test. So it is a test, right, for God's people. It is the great test, right? It is the test that the people of God must have before they are sealed. And they will prove their loyalty to God by observing His Sabbath. That's what the sign is, that they are loyal to God, because of that they will keep the true Sabbath, right? Of the Amorites, the Lord said, in the fourth generation they shall come to hither. And the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. Although this nation was conspicuous because of the idolatry and corruption, it had not yet filled up the cup of its iniquity. God would not give command for its utter destruction. The people were to see the divine power manifested in a marked manner, that they may be left without excuse. The compassionate Creator was willing to bear with their iniquity until their fourth generation. So that even the Amorites had to go even until the fourth generation. Judah's probation had to close even until the fourth generation. Manasseh, Jehoiakim, Jehoiachin, Zedekiah. These four generations had to suffer their 25/20s. There are four 25/20s, right? It's in the fourth generation. This is going to be a visual test, right? Your cup of iniquity will have to be tested. Right? So that the earth, everybody will be able to see that you actually have went to the limit, right? You have rejected divine power. and there is no excuse. So it is a visual test, right? The image of the plain of Dura, the image that Nebuchadnezzar built, is a visual test. The world has to see that you actually went to the distance. You have gone even to the 4th generation. There's no more excuse, right? It has to be a visual test. All right. What's the visual test at the time of Noah? The animals entering 2 by 2, right? Animals entering 2 by 2. All right. Here's another concept. There's the 2 walls that was established in Eden as the 2 institutions given by God. What are they? Sabbath and marriage. Sabbath was established on the 7th day. And marriage was established on the 6th day. All right. When the children of Israel went into captivity and they had to come out, they had already forgotten the Sabbath. So they had to be reminded, they had to be taught again. How were they taught? The children of Israel had to be taught by given manna, right? And how were they taught how to collect the manna? What did they have to do on the 6th day? They have to collect double the portion. The double of the portion is on the 6th day. On the 6th day is the sign of the marriage. You know, the institution of marriage was created on the 6th day. It's a doubling. A male and female. Right? You realize that?
Yeah.
Right?
That's what Rob said. It's another concept.
Yeah, this concept, wow. This you see, do you see that concept?
Yeah.
Yeah. On the 6th day, you have to gather double the manna.
Yeah.
Why?
Because of the 7th day.
Right. The double. Because the 6th day is the day of when he created marriage. It's a doubling. Right? And that doubling also means it also points to the midnight cry when things are doubled. Right? Yeah. They're told to remember the Sabbath day. So at the midnight cry, there's going to be an issue about marriage.
So not only forming for also son-in-law?
Yeah, because at that time, the false marriage is going to be the image of the beast test is going to start coming. Right? The image of the beast is the false marriage also. But there's going to be a law about something about a marriage. Yeah. So there's going to be that wall of marriage is established and has to be broken. And Balaam's ass falls and crushes the foot of Balaam on that wall. Right? So now you see why all these histories now line up together. So because now you can see that where you get, where's the wall of marriage? It's on the 6th day. On the 6th day, you have to double up on your manna. That's when Jesus created the marriage between a man and a woman. There's the doubling right there, right? And there's the wall right at the midnight cry. Okay. Noah preached for 120 years. The Lord strove for 120 years until the animals came in 2 by 2, right? Because the sons were marrying heathen daughters, right? Genesis 6 verse 2. That's the image of the beast, unholy marriage alliance, the beast riding the dragon. That's why they have to receive their punishment, right? Wow. All these concepts now starts coming together. Okay, we're just about to finish now. All right. The midnight cry was not so much carried by argument. The scripture proof was clear and conclusive. There went with it an impelling power that moved the soul. There was no doubt, no questioning. upon the occasion of Christ's triumphal entry into Jerusalem. So Ellen White said the midnight cry is connected with Christ's triumphal entry, right? Christ's triumphal entry lines up with the midnight cry. The line of, John the Baptist and Jesus lines up with the line of William Miller and the midnight cry. All right? The people who were assembled from all parts of the land to keep the feast flocked to the Mount of Olives as they joined and the throng that was escorting Jesus. They caught the inspiration of the hour and helped to swell the shout, "Blessed is he cometh in the name of the Lord." In like manner did unbelievers who flocked at the Adventist meeting, some with curiosity, some merely to ridicule, feel the convincing power, attending the message, "The bridegroom cometh." All right. What is the convincing power? And I actually have it on that picture right there. What it was the convincing power of Christ when he entered riding a donkey? Why is that? Why is that a power? Yeah. Yeah. This is the convincing power. You go, wow. Especially to the Sadducees, right? You don't believe in the resurrection, right? There's Lazarus bringing in Jesus, right? That is power. The midnight cry. This, according to Ellen White, obviously you line it up with the midnight cry. Okay. All right. So we will do this one more time. This is the 7 years of plenty, right? Starts right here. Right. Because now you're gathering, right? Because remember, like Elijah, when he was in hiding, he was being given food. And he had enough food. He had plenty. When everybody else had none. Right? So Joseph is gathering right here during the 7 years. All right? Right, yeah. The wise virgins, right? Even though they were the so-called sleeping, they were still adding to the light that they had, right? By having oil. Okay. All right. And after that, there was 2 more years. Remember the 2 years? Then Joseph's family came down, and there was still another 5 years, right? So what caused the famine? The east wind blowing right there, and caused the famine. And the famine lasted for 2 years until Joseph's family came, right? So there's the 7 years of famine, start right here. His 10 brothers had come and joined him twice, actually, right? Joined him twice. And the first year that the money fails, during the first year, money fails, right here, right? And then you have to sell your cattle. In the second year, the people will have to sell themselves, and they have to sell their land. And during this time is when Jacob received his Mara vision, right? Jacob, right? At Beersheba, all right. The 10 brothers are joined together. Remember, here the 10 brothers up here join with the. This is the line. Anyway, the 10 brothers join with this line. That the 2 sticks are joined together. All right. These are the rest of the 7 years. The first 7. Okay, and then 2, and then 5. Okay, what happened here is the 10 brothers eventually all joined together because, actually I should have said all the brothers are joined here, right? Because they're starting to be gathered here, but then all of them are gathered here. They're all joined together at this time. All the brothers. I should have changed that. And Joseph cries, and the Egyptians hear. Oh. And the 70. 70 is how many souls came down. Remember Samuel was 12? there's 12 disciples right here. That was Jesus' first disciples. And after that, he had how many disciples afterwards? 70. So here's are the 12 initial disciples and the 70. Here's are the 12 sons of Jacob here. And then after that, there's 70 that came down. And then he made a law. Joseph made a law. So the law is made here, right? And the slaves are taken to the cities, and then the land remain with the priests because they did not sell their land to the Pharaoh, right? That happened at this time, and during this time is when the life is given to the image of the beast, right? Okay. This is when Joseph continues to nourish his family with bread, and they grew and multiplied, right? They continued to go even through this Jacob's time of trouble here in our time, and they will continue to live, right? They will continue to have, the bread is being given because it's poured out without measure here. So all these lines come together. And now remember, all these lines, if we had to put all of them that we had, this will be so full and cluttered, you don't know what to read, right? But anyway, all these things, just from studying the book of Jehoiachin and understanding what the other lines contribute to that line, which will be repeated in our time, right? Yeah. One thing to remember, we are very close here. We are in this time frame. I'm not sure exactly when, but we know for sure we're not at the midnight cry yet.
We're touching it.
We're not at the midnight cry because what? The east wind has yet to blow.
It's forming.
Right? And there's there's one wall here and there's the other wall here. What wall is this? The marriage wall. How that actually turns out to be, we're not really sure, but we'll see that,
It's starting to crumble.
yeah, it's starting to crumble. We will have to see how that happens. This is not a time prophecy, but we will just have to see it. It's an event prophecy. We will completely understand it after it's done with. But it's going to be a problem. Why? Because what happens at the midnight cry? The foolish virgins, everybody wake up, and the foolish virgins do not get any more oil, right? The foolish virgins, their probation they close their probation here already. Yeah. So if you are thinking, well, I'm just going to wait until Islam attacks again, boy, you're going to be in big trouble because you may not have enough oil, right? And if you're thinking that money is going to fail at the Sunday law, it actually, according to this story, money fails before the Sunday law, during the image of the beast test.
And then you don't even know if it will merge with the wall of the marriage.
Yeah, you don't know.
You never know, because then you never know when the Israel will.
Yeah. So this is the reason exactly why when you study the prophecies in Revelation 10, it will show you what will happen to God's people in the end times. That's Revelation 10. When you understand the Chow Zone vision. When you understand the Chow Zone vision, you will know what will happen to God's people in the end time. This is what's going to happen, because now all these little details will be added so that you won't be surprised. All right? Okay, and that is a more sure word of prophecy. Okay.
Okay, I see.
You put the ending now.
Yeah, I have to put the ending now. Okay.
So I heard in the news that one of the CNN that because of the gasoline,